Hello! Now, it's evening for me now, but yeah, I should be a bit better this stream because I think I probably had flu or something. It's not totally gone. I've got like a bit of an upset stomach still. My throat's not quite back to normal. I felt a bit congested, but I'm a lot better than I was last Thursday, because last Thursday it felt like my throat had been like shoved with barbed wire or something. So definitely better than I was last time I did a stream, so I'll probably be on closer to an hour this time. But I think, you know, within a week I should be totally back to normal, but I know quite a few people now who have been ill with like a flu or like a really bad cold, so I assume I caught whatever they've had. And it's sod's law because, you know, last time I had, I spoke to somebody who was ill. I said, you know, don't worry, I won't catch it because I've not actually, had a cold for like 6 months or so, and then of course I catch it, which is sort of I think the very last time I said that to somebody, so I'm not going to say that to people anymore. If they say you know, is there a risk of you getting ill, I'll just say Alright, thank you. So it says there's 10 people watching, but I assume more people will join soon. Now, something I've got to show you I've not actually done a video on yet. Ended up getting a Bokken. That's the wrong way up. There we go. So essentially like a training katana. So it's obviously a lot safer to use. Now I want to actually get into sparring with this. So how you'd obviously do that is I would have a riot helmet on. I'd get a friend to get a riot helmet on, and then no, I don't play Fortnite. Butterfly knives are included on one of the knife bands for some reason, because they consider them more, you know, thing. Well, like I've said, it's mostly just because with katanas, I'm not like a massive fan of them, but where I got that katana from Blades and Bows, it was really cheap, and it's actually a decent katana. It's got me a lot more into them. And Bokkens, the thing is with katanas, because there's more of a market for them, you can get things like Bokkens, like training swords, of much cheaper and better quality than you can with a lot of the other swords. Like, I can't find many places that do like decent quality wooden long swords or arming swords or things like that. So I'm mostly doing this so I can actually get some sword sparring practice done with other people. Because I think I've said to people there's not any good groups as far as I'm aware near me where people do full contact like HEMA type stuff. So what I've done is obviously I've bought one of these. I've got a bit of protective equipment. Can get a friend to buy one as well who's also interested in doing it with a bit of protective equipment, and then we can literally hit the shit out of each other with swords. So I'm quite looking forward to that. Just a bit of protective equipment so we don't give each other brain damage or break our necks, but we'll probably end up quite bruised, but it should be good fun because I quite like the idea of doing full contact sparring, you know, stuff like this. Alright, cheers to everybody saying they enjoy my videos. You can headbutt people with a helmet on like this. It would hurt them more than it can hurt you, but obviously even though a riot helmet will give you good head protection, you still have a risk of neck damage with one on. I've taken the brace off that's designed to brace it so it puts less impact on your neck, because I find I don't like, you know, the amount of less movement they let you do, but they're very similar to motorcycle helmets. If you know how much protection a motorcycle helmet will give your head, a riot helmet's a lot like that. It's designed to obviously nullify or soften physical force impacts. Yeah, with one of my riot helmets it goes below the neck with the visor. I don't think this one does, hang on. Yeah, so there's still a bit of a neck risk there, yeah, you're right Richard, but I think we're probably just going to say, you know, we're not going to aim at each other's heads, because I trust, you know, the people I'm sparring with. If I'm going to be doing it, we're probably just going to be aiming for centre mass or leg, sort of a low sweeping. So maybe groin protection be something I want. And that's probably one of the more worrying things, I think, because, you know, something like this hitting you full on in the groin would be quite worrying. No, I don't know too much about dosimeters, to be honest. I know most of them would either change colour or they'd go like cloudy or something in the bit you look through. I've got a couple of bayonets, but sadly it's quite hard to get a lot of them in the UK, because it seems lots of sellers don't specialise in them, and then a lot of them end up being very overpriced, you know, like £100 to £200 for a bayonet. So I've got a couple. I've got a VZ58 bayonet, an AKM bayonet, and a Sturmgewehr 57 bayonet. I'm trying to think if I have any others. I've got a Lee Enfield No. 4 spike bayonet, but that's literally just like a triangular spike. But you know, I'd collect more if I saw them for a decent price, but the thing is I don't really see the point in paying £200 for a mass-produced knife. Alright, cool, Mike. I did send you a message on Twitter telling you I was going to be on, but yeah, sort of, I'm just going to stream for an hour because I'm feeling a bit better with the flu or the cold I've had, so you know, that's good. As I keep saying with Stalker 2, if it ends up being a good game, yes, but I'm not going to put too much enthusiasm into it. The game I'm most looking forward to, that's in development at the moment, is Mountain Blade Bannerlord, or Mountain Blade 2, because that looks like it'd be really good. And Mountain Blade 1, if you've ever played that, or Warband, you know, you can sink so many hours into that. So I think Bannerlord should be really good. Probably couldn't move all the equipment, to be honest. I'd probably have to sell lots of it and start collecting again. You know, I'm not going to even give people attention that keep asking the repeated questions. They can either check the FAQ or whatever. Is the MOF4 filter the Czech ones, like the Czechoslovakian filters? Yeah, one of my friends has been ill for quite a while, because I think I must have caught it from him, you know, like last week. So I think it probably had a couple of days incubation period in me. You know, so I think I caught it from him on the Tuesday. It made me ill partway through Thursday, but he'd been ill, I think the day before or like a day prior to that, and he's still ill with it. So for him, he's like had it for like a week and a bit now. I think he's quite close to fully recovered now, but you know, it's sort of one of those things. Yeah, the flak vest I've got, the British Army olive green one, with the, what's it in it, the ballistic nylon? Yeah, the ballistic nylon, because it's the pre-Kevlar one. That does give you neck protection, although it doesn't always work very well with these helmets, because sometimes the problem is the collar on that rides up into the helmet and then it kind of forces you to only look forwards, if that makes sense. You don't have very good manoeuvrability. And the only other thing regarding sword sparring is that flak vest covers your arms kind of like to there, because it's sort of got the shoulder and under armpit protection on it, because it's obviously designed to protect against fragmentation. So it's, in that regard, it might be a bit impractical for using. I don't want to be wearing too much padding though, because as I think I've said, you know, part of the reason I want to do it is to actually have an enjoyable contact sport where I do get a bit bruised and beaten up from it. So, you know. Metro Exodus, maybe when it's on sale, as I've said quite a few times. I'm not, you know, too fussed on the Metro games, to be honest. Body armour, it depends on the rating of the body armour and the type of bullet it's being shot by, or the cartridge it's being shot by. Also, there are vests that can technically stop a bullet, but you could be, you know, seriously injured or killed from the kinetic force of it hitting you. So it's not quite as simple sometimes as can it stop it, because often the armour can physically stop it, but you could still be severely injured by, you know, the sheer force of the impact when the bullet actually strikes you. My favourite crossbow is probably my £105 crossbow, and as for bolt, I'm not too fussed. Any like decent carbon fibre or aluminium bolt, it doesn't really matter to me. I've bought from my local surplus store a few times, but sadly I think they're closing down soon. Because, you know, like, if the prices are good, I don't mind physical surplus stores. I definitely prefer them for trying on boots and obviously camo and checking for camo that's not faded. But with eBay, everything's obviously just very convenient. Yeah, I mean, it depends, I think, what's hitting you and things like that, because I know, especially when people are saying this regarding, like, the titanium helmets and the Kevlar helmets, it's possible that you can survive, you know, a bullet hitting you in the helmet. This isn't a Kevlar helmet, but just as an example. But when the impact will actually cause your neck to break, you know, which probably isn't very survivable. Or, you know, your brains get scrambled from the sheer force of how hard the helmet's hit. So not a gas mask, camo or armour. I'm trying to actually think. That's a good question, actually, because that's put me on the spot a bit, because with like deactivated guns and swords and like gas masks, I know mostly what I have, but now I'm thinking of like with camo and helmets and stuff. Probably one of my Kevlar helmets, I'd say, because I've spent, you know, more like 50 to 60 quid on those. I wouldn't spend really that much on camo. Do you mean like one of those bomb defusal suits? Probably not, just for the amount of size they take up. You do occasionally see the old British Army ones sold on eBay. They're sometimes not that expensive. Sometimes, you know, for less than 100 quid you can get the complete suit. And I kind of like one for the novelty factor of that, but just I already don't have enough room for all this crap I collect anyway, so, you know, trying to fit an entire Kevlar and like ballistic fibre suit somewhere would be a bit ridiculous. Let me actually just have a look on eBay at the moment and see if there is a bomb disposal suit on there. Like, there's the main body section of it for 50 quid. One for 70 quid, which doesn't include all of it, but includes lots of the bits. So yeah, some like individual components of them for like 5 quid, 10 quid. So yeah, you can get all the bits normally for sale, just like you can buy most body armour online, but I don't actually know how many XM28 masks have been built in total. That's a really good point. I really don't know. At the moment, what I've been playing is with Rising Storm Vietnam, where they've got the Green Army Men thing in it. I've been playing quite a bit of that. Dungeon Warfare 2, which is like a tower defense game. In the Steam sale recently, I got Warhammer 40,000 Gladius, which is kind of like Civilizations, a bit, kind of. Outlast 2, somebody gifted me, one of my friends, so I've been playing Outlast 2 a bit, getting into that. They don't deactivate gas masks in the UK. They do deactivate guns, but not gas masks. Oh yeah, cheers Richard, don't forget to like the stream. Oh, that's a point, Mike. I thought that was really good in your video you did about the Blades and Bows one. How you had like those things flash up that said, you know, like and subscribe. They look really good, actually. They look very professional. Because, you know, my videos aren't very professional at all. Impossible to say if you added all of them up, but bear in mind I've got about 90 odd masks. Most of the masks you're going to look at for about £10 at the least. Some of them go up to, you know, like £50 to £100 in the price range. So, you know, do an average. If all the masks were £10, that'd be £900. If all of them were, you know, like £30, we'd be looking at like 2,700 or something. So, you know, somewhere between that figure, I don't know really. I've got several full NBC suits. If you watch my videos on them, you'll see what I've got. So yeah, I've been holding it, Mike, but I haven't mentioned it while you've been on the stream. This is the Bokken I bought. So put the thing down again. I'm not actually normally using this when I'm just swinging it about, but I could probably demonstrate it against my own head. So obviously that's the Bokken. I weighed this earlier. It weighs 400, sorry no, this weighs 200 grams in total, as far as I can tell. Where I was using a scale, because obviously sometimes the weight goes slightly off the scale, which might give you a false reading. And my full katana weighs 260 grams, so it's not too far off actually, the weight. Ooh, there goes the light. You know, it's a fair bit lighter in a sense, but obviously it's got no metal in it, so the red oak's going to be lighter than it for that reason. But in terms of physical force, if that's in frame, hang on. Yeah, you wouldn't want to get hit by that. Don't think it's marked the Bokken at all, which is good. Felt a bit of the shock of that through my jaw. I'll not keep hitting myself in the head with it. It's not really a smart idea, is it? You can get Bokkens as well. They have a special name, I can't remember what it is off the top of my head, that are heavier than the actual katanas. But they look more like cricket bats than actual katanas. That's the problem, because obviously to make them heavier, they have to make the wood thicker, which then means that, you know, they just end up looking like cricket bats. I've seen a bloke that reminded me of Michael Myers that we called the Shape on my night vision. I see deer quite often, and like rabbits and bats when I go out with the night vision camera. Yeah, well, I'm lucky enough on YouTube, I guess, that with the streams I get enough people on them I can generally chat to them, but not so many people that, you know, it gets drowned out kind of thing. Often, if the streams stay around the 30 to 60 sort of number of people, I can generally keep up with the chat. I mean, I can't always keep checking the chat, especially if I'm answering a question that takes ages or whatever. I got mine off of Amazon, but it was done by some martial arts company, but it's just basically the main thing is a piece of oak, and then what you've got on this bit is like a rubbery kind of plastic handguard, and you've got, if I slide it you'll be able to see the shape of it, so you can see where the handle is, it's a bit of a different shape. The handle bit's a little bit thicker. Then obviously when you get it, you put this on to the very bottom of it, so you've got the guard or the tsubo, whatever they call it, in place. Then you've kind of got this elastic band kind of thing that you drag down so it doesn't, you know, work its way up on its own. And there you've got your actual kind of katana design. But saying, as for length and weight, it's a little bit longer than a regular katana, or at least my katana. It's like maybe an inch longer, and it weighs about 60 grams less. I'm sure you could get some that would weigh like 300 grams, which wouldn't have all that much wood on them, more than this one. You know, you could maybe have it slightly thicker along the blade or something. It depends what kind of night vision you're looking at. If you're looking for basic infrared ones, they're not expensive. You can get them for about £100 now. Well, in theory, from what I've heard, is if you smack Bokkens into other Bokkens too hard, you can break them. They specifically warn you of these not to spar with them, because, you know, the risk of sparring with actual wooden swords is apparently, you know, enough that the company worries that they might get done if somebody gives somebody else brain damage with one, I guess. Although I've watched videos of people sparring with wooden swords, you know, very safely. As long as I think you trust the people you're sparring with, and you're wearing some sort of protective equipment, and you know if you actually properly hurt somebody, you know to stop, as in you're doing it with friends, I don't think it's a problem. as I was saying in one of Mike's streams when we were chatting about these, I think if you are going to be doing sword sparring kind of stuff, using a wooden sword like this is actually much better than using one of those really cheap, lightweight plastic swords, which, you know, has nowhere near the feel and weight of a real sword to it. Because the point is, you're not hitting somebody with this as hard as possible as you can. You know, you're just trying to make contact, because it's simulated fighting, isn't it? You're trying to get openings. But if it does hurt a bit, you know, you learn from it, I think, faster than if you know, just, oh, a little lightweight plastic sword smacked me. The thing I find most interesting, and bear in mind I can't do any of this because, you know, I'm medically unfit for it, it would be NBC kind of stuff, you know, where they have all the suits on and the gear and they collect samples of stuff. I find that the most interesting. The main big bow you can see, that one there, that's £28. I'm pointing to the wrong side, aren't I? £28, that one. I've got a couple of Chinese masks. I've done videos on it. I also have a video called like My Chinese Gas Mask Collection or something like that, which has got all my Chinese masks in one video. As in, what's my favourite weapon out of all the ones I've got, or all the ones in the world? What do you mean using they are green? Sorry. Oh, you mean light amplification goggles? You can still get some of those, like basic generation 1 to 2 generation equivalent ones for like the £200, £300 mark, probably similar in dollars. Actually, I imagine they'd be cheaper in America because I imagine there's a bit more of a market for them. But to be honest, if you were really interested in decent night vision, I would go for FLIR, F-L-I-R, which is forward-looking infrared, which is like thermal night vision. Because although you're going to have to, again, spend more on it, that's the ones where you can see somebody wearing camouflage in pitch black. Because, you know, it goes off of thermal heat, not on contrast and light. The spear, because it's a pole with a blade on it. And, you know, everybody in the world came up with it, pretty much. Every culture came up with spears. And spears are cheap and spears work. And then you can add more bits onto your spear to make different types of pole arms. And, you know, it was used for most of history. I mean, if we're talking about the most groundbreaking weapon in history, probably the nuclear bomb, I would assume. You know, both atomic and hydrogen bombs. Nuclear and thermonuclear. But in terms of what's the most impactful weapon in history, probably the spear. For $2,000, what features does that have? Because that seems very expensive if you're on about night vision. Because for £500, £600 here, you can get a brand new FLIR camera. So for $2,000, you should be able to get a very good FLIR camera. Oh, that's cool, but I assume they're not going to sell them to civilians, are they? I know they had the M14 upgrade programs to do the M14 EBRs or whatever it was. Okay, I don't think you've missed too much, Mike. I don't have any like advanced ones, you know, like survival straws or anything like that. I just use a Brita filter because that's good enough for me. You know, we've got bottled water in the house if we really needed it, but you can get most of the crap out of tap water using a Brita filter. I could legally buy a Martini Henry rifle that can still shoot because they're considered antique guns in the UK and not actual firearms because of our weird laws. But most of the ones I've seen that are in good condition cost a shitload of money, so no. I wouldn't spend nearly £1,000 on a Martini Henry. I don't know, I might have missed your comment. Let me scroll up and see if I can see it. Well, when I searched the thing you said about that army surplus, I found like a stables thing, so I don't think that's the thing. Let me see if I can find it. Oh, I think I found the one you're on about. But yeah, is that lots of old Swedish or Norwegian surplus? It looks interesting. Yeah, it looks interesting, but a lot of this stuff looks like the stuff that's also on eBay. But do they have gas masks on here? That's an interesting one. Gas mask EJI Lager or something. That's the only one I can see. Looks a bit like the Type 32. Detta filter Skydamot. I can't read whichever Scandinavian language that is. I assume it's Swedish because it's .se the site. Yep. Anyway, let's go back. I'll go back to the bottom of the chat. Oh, thank you very much, Charlie. Yeah, it does help. Thank you very much. Do you have any questions or anything, seeing as you give me a donation? So why is it that New Jersey is the only state where it's excluded from that? Is it just like they don't like firearms? I don't think I have Iron Man Spartan, but I might have to check that out if I remember. Okay, so it's just the New Jersey government's a dicks then, is it? Yeah, I will make sure I watch that after I've done this stream. Let me open your channel in a new tab. Let me click subscribe so I hopefully don't forget. Is it Avon S10 and GP5 test and comparison, that video? Or is it a different one? Sorry, go back to the chat now. Alright, cool, yeah, I'll have a look at that later. So, yeah, thank you for the £2 anyway, I do appreciate that, or $2, whatever it was. Oh, £2, yeah, thank you. As in trying to shoot a flaming arrow, I've tried it several times with a crossbow bolt. But normally they go out with like the wind of shooting them. I think it's technically possible if you had like a decent enough rag tied to the arrow and you know you had it in a good enough flammable material, but most like alcohol based spirits, you know, like methylated spirits, things like that, they tend to just kind of blow out as soon as the bolt starts moving at speed. No, I don't have an MSA Hour 3S. Well, you can see I've got a bow because there's one in the background. Israeli gas masks are absolutely fine, yeah. The 4A1's very good for a cheap mask if you can get them cheap anyway. Alright, cheers. Yeah, I'll make sure I check out your video when the stream ends if I remember. If not, remind me on a video comment, because I'm not going to obviously on purposely forget. It's just I might close the window when I finish the stream and then go, ooh, who was I meant to be checking out? My favourite gas mask, as it says in the FAQ, is the Avon CT12. That could potentially change if I get a mask I prefer to that, but at the moment it's definitely the CT12 in terms of what I find the most comfortable. I could wear for the longest time. You know, it's got good straps, it gives me good protection, good vision, all that sort of stuff. I think these, in theory, these polycarbonate visors on riot helmets can stop shotgun pellets. At least birdshot, definitely birdshot, because they stop air rifle pellets. With buckshot, I don't know, it probably depends on the number shot, but in theory, yes, thick enough polycarbonate would stop shot, because this is a very similar thickness, probably the exact same thickness, like 1.2mm, whatever it is, as riot shields have. And there's videos where people try shooting riot shields, and very small caliber stuff is stopped by a riot shield. It certainly wouldn't stop things like 9mm or any sort of proper rifle rounds, but shotgun shot at a distance, yes, I'd be pretty certain polycarbonate could stop it, because polycarbonate is fairly tough stuff. Best looking gas mask in my collection, I think the XM28 personally. And most expensive gas mask I've probably got the XM28 as well, or maybe British C7 masks, just because they're very rare. Oldest mask I own is going to be one of my British World War II masks, like the interwar ones, because they're going to be somewhere from the 1930s, but some of them the dates have worn off on the rubber, so I can't even tell you when they're actually from. I've got a Discord server for patrons only, and it's a patron reward. It's bad enough managing one for people who actually support me on Patreon. You know, in terms of like people on purposely trying to push their luck on the server and stuff like that, so I'm definitely not going to make a public Discord server. Let me have a look at what 68 DPM looks like. I'm probably aware of the one. Is it like the slightly lighter looking DPM? Ah yeah, it's a lighter DPM, because it's the same type the Dutch use, isn't it? 68 DPM. Personally, I don't think it would be very different from 95 DPM. The thing is, it's probably what can you get in the least faded condition. And if it is generally old DPM stuff, it's probably going to be quite faded, so for that reason I'd say go for 95 DPM. However, you know, if you can get one that's not faded and you prefer the colour palette of 68, go for that. I know 95 is better though under infrared night vision, because that was one of the reasons they darkened the colours, so it would contrast better under IR. Because I'd need to find people who'd actually go on the Discord server enough I could trust, who wouldn't, you know, break the rules themselves. MUA. As in the Polish MUA, the one I've got, I think, has a grey, kind of grey metal voice diaphragm. Alright, thank you, Yum Yum. Yeah, I've got American gas masks. If you look at my videos on them, you can find my videos I've got on US gas masks. How can you be sure it's unused? Personally, I don't think you could verify it is a mint unused XM28, but for $95, potentially, yeah. Like I said, I paid a lot for mine because I'm in the UK, so they're very hard to get full stop over here. In the US, they're probably not worth as much, to be honest. It could be that it's discoloured, or it could be just that some were made using different colours. Maybe go to like the Imperial War Museum or something like that. I'd say go to the museums, to be honest. I think you'd have more fun in there than, you know, a lot of the stuff. Okay, yeah, if it's still in its original packaging and that's like, you know, verified, then yeah, I'd say $95 for that's good. Now, funnily enough, I was reading that I think it's the Los Angeles Police Department does use these kind of bokkens as like long batons. Like the riot cops, I think it's like the mounted riot police use these as batons, which would make a lot of sense actually. You know, so in a riot scenario, they'd be going smack, smack, smack with them, and yeah, that would make sense. Because I can certainly imagine if you swung this into somebody, it would do a lot of winding and sort of damage. No, this helmet's very lightweight. I don't actually know what it weighs. I don't know if I've ever weighed it, but no, compared to like military helmets, it's very lightweight because it's basically just thermoplastic, whatever they call it, and like impact stuff on the inside. So it's similar weight to like a motorcycle helmet. Favourite camouflage that's no longer used, although it kind of still is used, is definitely Rhodesian bushstroke, or brushstroke, sorry. I keep wanting to call it bushstroke, but it's brushstroke, isn't it? As in like British brushstroke, Rhodesian brushstroke. Because it's a very effective camouflage and it's a cool looking pattern. Favourite one that's currently still in use would probably be Russian SS Leto. Alright, cool, that's cool, Mike. Thanks for letting me know. Yeah, so that means I'll just watch stuff tonight anyway. But so as of Wednesday, you might be on again, I guess. Yeah, I had a good Christmas, thanks, but I'm sort of glad it's over because I find you're a bit busy over Christmas, like, well, with my job as well. Like, ignoring the YouTube stuff, where I do, like, the cleaning kind of kitchen porter job, that is really busy over Christmas, like, being in, like, a restaurant or a cafe over Christmas, so... you know, I'm glad it's the quieter time of the year for that, and also that, you know, I'm not buying loads of things for people and spending loads and loads of time seeing family. My favourite YouTuber, in terms of one I actually have the most respect for and everybody, is actually Mike, who's on at the moment, Weapon Collector, because I've watched his stuff for years. Richard Weaponsmith, who's probably also still in the chat, has been doing some really good stuff. If you mean like really big channels though, maybe Paul Harrell, because I like how he's, you know, like a very down-to-earth channel for what he does kind of thing. Yeah, when it's a really busy sort of place, kitchen porter is a hard job, yeah. When it's quiet, it's alright. But obviously, I started the job August, September time. It got busier and busier and busier until Christmas. So now, because I've got used to working in the really busy conditions, it's nice, you know, having days where you're surprised that it's not so busy kind of thing. No, I don't have any chocolate chip American BDUs that they used in Desert Storm. The only desert camo I've got is British 95 Desert, but I've only got that on the trousers. I've not got a 95 Desert shirt. And I suppose technically I've got full British MTP, and that is desert and woodland because it's, you know, multi-terrain camo. The nearest army surplus store to me is probably 10 odd miles away, so in my car it's not a very long drive. I need to go up there soon because I can't remember when it is they close, because they said they are closing at some point. Because one of my friends wants to go up there, so I have to find a day when we're both not working, then offer to give him a lift up there, because I think he wanted to buy like a rucksack or something. Right, see you if you're off. No, if there was an air show that wasn't too far away, and it wasn't when I was working, then I'd probably go to air shows because I do find them interesting, but for the most part it's often because I don't check up enough when stuff like that is, and then I don't, you know, have holiday to book off to actually go to them. Well, for surplus items, B-Store, or B-Story, however it's pronounced, he sent me stuff for free. I've bought stuff from him in the past. I've never had any problems with him, and I've got loads of stuff for free from him, so I certainly can't say anything bad about him. As in sellers I have like no affiliation with whatsoever. I'm trying to think if there are any. Yeah, it'd be good, Mike. If it's a weekday as well, that's especially good for me, because it means I wouldn't even have to book it off for work. I could literally, you know, it would be really simple if it's a weekday for me. I've got a children's PDF mask from Russia. I think it's a PDF-D, the one I have. There's several PDF variants. Problem is I can't really do a review in terms of how good all the features are, because it obviously doesn't fit me. Because, you know, when you're an adult, a children's mask won't fit you and be comfortable. Oh, that's cool. One museum I've been to which I'd really recommend, talking about military stuff, or two actually, if you're into planes, RAF Hendon, that's near London, they've got a massive collection of planes there. I specifically went there to see the Stuka, because there's only 2 surviving Stukas in the world, or like 2 decent condition Stukas, and they've got one in there. And if you like tanks and armoured vehicles, the Bovington Tank Museum, or just the Tank Museum, is a really good museum for that. That's near Weymouth, I think. I'm pretty sure it's near Weymouth. Right, the FAL there, it's got dud bullets in the magazine. The magazine can come out. You can take the dust cover off, you can hinge it open, but you can't take any more out than that. Everything else is welded, or, you know, just been removed. The trigger's welded, the safety's welded. The charging handle you can move, but obviously it's not connected to anything, so it just moves about and doesn't do anything. Ah, that would be good, Mike. Yeah, you'll definitely have to let me know roughly when you know when that is, so I can make sure I just, for whatever reason, don't plan to do anything. Because I sometimes go away on holiday. Like I said, I keep meaning to at some point go on holiday to the US. You know, I've saved up enough money that I could do it, but you know, I want to plan it when I can plan it. And ideally, I'd like to go with a friend when I do that. Is it like a preserved one? If it were like crashed and it's crushed, because that's kind of interesting, even if it's just a bit of wreckage. Right, anybody's got to go. See ya. Thanks for joining in the stream. I'm still going to go for about another 20 minutes on this stream, I think. Yeah, that's fine. I don't think people need to donate. I don't mind, you know. I appreciate anybody who can that can donate, but I've never watched Jay Foreman, now I don't know who he is. I probably could recommend a good survival movie. I mean, there's Fred's. That's a pretty grim survival movie, isn't it? Or do you mean one where it's more like people do realistic survival things? I'd say if I visit the US, it would have to be one of the very gun-friendly states, because I'd obviously want to visit the US to do some shooting. Because, you know, that's definitely one of the main reasons I'm interested in the US. I mean, obviously I do like the history of it as well. But yeah, it'd probably have to be somewhere in the south, I reckon. If you want to show gas masks to me, the best thing to do is make a comment on a video, put an image to the gas mask on a site like Imager or something like that. Make sure it's a image sharing site that's, you know, like one of the totally used and accepted ones, so it doesn't appear dodgy. Then if I see the link, I can, you know, approve the link and then comment on it. I've made a coffee before the stream. I've not actually drunk any of it yet, so now it's cold coffee, which is a bit annoying. At least with cold coffee, it's not as bad as cold tea. I cannot stand cold tea, but cold coffee I can still drink, even if I don't particularly like it. I take it you mean asbestos, not asbestos. Basically, if it's a Soviet filter or a filter older than the 1960s, don't use it. Yeah, there's also Nevada, isn't there? It's very gun-friendly, because I've had friends that went shooting in Nevada. They paid a lot of money to do it, but there's probably states where you can do it for cheaper. But they were, you know, they did a lot of fully automatic shooting, where they, you know, mag dump an M16 at a range and an AK at a range and things like that. You know, I'd love to do that, but they spent a lot of money doing that. Oh, I could do. You see, the problem is, I can't actually grind, you know, all the beans myself, and I don't have like a proper espresso machine. Because if I did that, then that could be a perfect cup of coffee. Otherwise, it's not, for me, a perfect cup of coffee. The closest I can do to a perfect cup of coffee is the Tassimo. I've already got a couple of videos on YouTube on how to make good drinks with a Tassimo. So if you watch some ones I've done on like lattes, where you do like the milk, I didn't even froth the milk in those, but in theory, froth the milk, get a really strong espresso, have that done in it, then put like some caramel sauce in it or whatever, then whipped cream on the top, and then caramel ice cream sauce or toffee ice cream sauce, something like that. Something like that is brilliant. I mean, a lot of the time I just prefer strong, plain coffee, but now and again I do like having like a sugary latte kind of thing. Oh, that's actually cool, because like I've said before, when people ask me where would I move to if I went to the US, I always say, well, I'd like a cold state, because the problem is, as much as I like the South, you know, like culturally and everything, you know, I could not get on with very hot, humid weather. I absolutely hate when we have hot, humid summers in the UK. I like cold winters because I can just wrap up warm and it doesn't bother me at all. But yeah, so cold states with relaxed gun walls would be, you know, the way to go for me. I definitely want to visit Italy at some point, because, you know, I like the history of Italy and everything, and I really like Italian cinema, but there's lots of places I want to go to and I've not got round to yet. I've not really tried it with condensed milk, to be honest. Like, is that like evaporated milk? I can imagine it would actually be alright, but I've either done like frothed milk in coffee, that's alright if you're having like a more fancy one. But in general, I just like full fat milk, just a little bit of that. I mean, obviously if you're having a latte, you have more milk, but when I have a cup of tea, I just have a tiny bit of milk, just so it's not black tea. If it's green tea or whatever, I have that essentially black, because I don't like green tea with milk. If it's coffee, I have a little bit more milk normally, but not often that much. I mean, I'm more interested in the kind of countryside stuff. A guy I work with is from Milan, and he says Milan at certain times of year isn't very hot. You know, it's actually quite cold, so, you know. And Milan's got a lot of famous historical stuff, hasn't it? So I think Russia in the winter would be very cold, Vladimir. It probably depends whereabouts it is in Russia, though, doesn't it? But I know when I was in Finland, they were saying some of the Finnish winters get to like -50 centigrade. So I imagine Russia would be similar to that, wouldn't it? Maybe even colder in Siberia. I'm not going to get an authentic small box respirator, because as I said before, I wouldn't be able to, you know, get one and then look after it properly. But as for getting, maybe if I saw a good price reproduction one, I wouldn't mind doing that. Yeah, Florence as well, definitely. Yeah, I like the cold weather, because as I said, in cold weather I can just simply put on more layers and I'm fine. The only time I don't like cold weather is if you're working somewhere, you've got to wear a work uniform, and that work uniform doesn't particularly, you know, keep you particularly warm. But if it's like me personally, and I want to go out in the cold weather, absolutely fine. You know, I can just put on more layers, and I've got enough jumpers and coats and whatever else that, you know, I can keep myself perfectly warm in cold weather, if I want to be. But the reason I hate the summer is you can't cool down once it gets too hot. Although, I am definitely going to spend £200 to £300 when it comes to this summer and get an aircon unit, like a proper aircon unit, just because last summer was dreadful. And the problem is, the room I'm in, it's insulated horribly well. So, in the winter, it stays nice and warm. That's not a problem. I don't actually like having the heating on in this room, because it gets warm and then it doesn't cool down. In the summer, this room will often stay about 30 degrees centigrade, go over that, and it won't get lower than 30 degrees centigrade. So that gives you some idea of how horrible it is being in this room during the summer. Yeah, that's the only complaint I have with the winter, Mike, is that it's a bit depressing, isn't it, where sometimes by 3 o'clock it's already dark. I've not actually got any Lamb's Navy at the moment. At the moment, the only rum as far as... Oh, I've actually got Aldi's cheap rum that I want to try and see if that's any good. It might not be, but... Lamb's Navy I do like, yeah. But I've got a bit of Mount Gay left in the cupboard. But at the moment I've not been drinking all that much, to be honest. And where it's been Christmas and some people give you alcohol as gifts, and I've, you know, bought other stuff, I've just got a stupid amount again to try and drink through, but I don't want to drink too much at once, so... Yeah, I think it's like, as much as it's like a big investment, I think I definitely get a use out of it. Because if it means I can sleep well in the winter, you know, it's pleasant to actually be inside, it would be worth it for that reason. The thing I'm going to have to probably do, though, is set it up, like, literally here. Because what I'd have to do is, I could have it set up there, then I could set it up with the window there to actually exhaust out the window, because the problem with air cons is you obviously have to exhaust them, don't you, because they need to exhaust hot air out of the room. That's one of the reasons I put off getting one for quite a while, because I didn't know, you know, how I could set one up, but I have actually looked into it now. So yeah, when it comes to this summer, I'm definitely buying one. I've got enough money to do it, you know. And just remembering how grim it's been some of the past summers, you know, and constantly covering myself with those like cooler neck things and like cold wet towels and things like that, and having like 2 fans blowing, because last year I had to have my evaporative cooler going full speed and a big tower fan behind it going full speed to kind of make a wind tunnel, and even then, you know, the problem was because it doesn't really cool the air down in the room that much, the issue you'd have is as soon as you switch them off to go to bed, because I can't sleep with them going, it's too loud, you know, the room starts getting hot again. Well, you can buy AC, but houses don't come with AC as standard, Brendan, because normally, up until a few years ago, it didn't ever get that hot in the UK. We're more of a colder country, like a cold, wet country. But the issue is, you know, now we're getting very hot summers that often, you know, last longer and longer now, with like lots of days being over 30 degrees Celsius. You know, it just becomes pretty unbearable, especially if you're not acclimatized for that kind of weather. No, I don't have a Canadian C4. If I did, I'd do a video on it, and I've heard the C4 is a really good mask, but sadly I don't have it. Yeah, it's very sad that Blades and Bows is closing down. I'm going to have to see if there's anything I want to buy from them. Mike's got one of those Tron crossbows coming from them that looks good. I've just not done much crossbow shooting recently, so I don't know if it'd be really worth me getting one, to be honest. But I'm definitely going to have a look at some of the machetes and knives on there before they close down and see if there's any of those that might be good for me. I've told some friends as well, you know, if you want to get something, you know, hurry up and do it, because they're not going to be around much longer. I mean, I'm hoping that all this stuff doesn't affect them, but, you know, government destroying British business as usual, sadly. Yeah, Gross Messer would be very cool for like 250 quid sort of price range. Because before I got my falchion, I was looking into Messers, because I'd have either got a Messer or a falchion, but because it didn't cost all that much more to have a custom falchion done exactly as I wanted it by a UK blacksmith, as opposed to, you know, getting like a pre-made Messer from somewhere like Cold Steel, there wouldn't have been much in it. I went for getting a falchion exactly as I wanted it, but Messers are very cool. I don't hate the GP7, I just think the Russians could have done a lot better with it. Yeah, but I bet they didn't give Italy any royalties when they actually, after they bought them. It's like when Britain was dumb enough to sell the Soviets in like 1946 or whatever it was, a Rolls-Royce jet engine. Or like one British jet aircraft. Oh, we just wanted the one, comrade. Oh look, we have reversed engineered your engine to make MiGs. Ha ha ha. You know, it's, in general, you have to be quite careful if you sell other countries things that they can backwards engineer. I think the GP5 is a very good mask for it being, you know, like a mass-produced, the most common mask in the world. The issue is with GP5s is that obviously they can't take NATO filters, so you can buy things like FP5 filters for them, but, you know, it limits your options a lot more with them. Yeah, it is a very good price for it. I am tempted by that price. You know, that's the only reason I got that katana, and I'm glad I did. Because that katana with postage was like 50 quid. That's a steal. You know, but The only thing is just because I have so many pistol crossbows anyway, and I don't do much shooting in the garden at the moment. I haven't done in a while. You know, I've just not really. I think I get more use at the moment. I'm enjoying melee weapons a lot more, to be honest. Yeah, that'll be the one. Like you're saying about a random guy. Well, any gun, if it's a gun in working condition, works, if that's what you're saying. Does it physically work? Mine don't, they're deactivated. Ugh. No, none of them in my collection work because they're all deactivated or replicas. £65 for a replica mask, I would not pay that. You know, bear in mind that you can buy things like Avon FM12s for 30 to 40 quid often. You know, actually working functioning masks. No, I would not pay nearly 70 quid for a replica mask that doesn't work. I don't think it will, no, because there's not many masks that have gone against the trend of it. You know, like the bayonet filters for the GSR and the like weird plug-in filters for the Avon M50. Most nations are going to stick with it because it's a design that works well. Yeah, £20 for a full MUA kit is a very good price, yeah. I mean, how does it work if it's a replica mask? Because it's not going to have an actual authentic filter with it, is it? Yeah, I've done videos on the MP4. It's a well-made cheek filter mask. The MP4B, which is the rarer one with the drinking tube, actually has a really good drinking tube on it. I will say that about it. But it's just a very similar clone of an M17. Yeah, one of my friends was telling me that apparently the Russian parts are interchangeable with the actual American Sidewinders because, you know, of how closely they reverse engineered it. And then the Chinese reverse engineered the Russian ones after that as well. You can get like shin guards and things like that, but for legs, for the most part, no, because most people just have like Kevlar body armor and stuff like that for the main body, if that's what you're getting at. Cold coffee, well, 20 degrees coffee, I'd say, room temperature, 22.4 degrees, not too pleasant. Yeah, Fred's is definitely worth a watch. I mean, it's not really an enjoyable film, is it? Although I've watched it lots of times and I do sort of enjoy it. But it's very good if you want to see, you know, like how screwed a situation it would be if full-on, you know, mutually assured destruction exchange happened. You know, it's not going to be a happy ending. GP4's cool. I like the Polish version more because I think it's actually of higher quality. If you liked Fred's and watched it, if you haven't seen Trinity and Beyond, the atomic bomb movie, I would definitely recommend that because that's like a very realistic look, well, it's real footage of the advancement and development of nuclear weapons with a really, really good soundtrack. So yeah, Fred's is, you know, like a docudrama of what would happen to the people if the exchange happens. Trinity and Beyond is like the science and actual demonstrations of the real devices. So the really good remastered footage is, you know, brilliant, where you see the thermal flash, all the paint burning off everything. Then in like 1080p you see all like the things crumple and get destroyed, you know, and everything. It's just amazing, Trinity and Beyond, for the sheer spectacle of the actual power of the weapons themselves. I personally think one filter is better than dual filter, but it depends. If it's like a little hardware mask, dual filter masks are fine, yeah. Dual filter military masks are fine as long as you've got blanking plugs, so you can only use one side if you want to. No, I don't think I've watched Hurricane. Is that a film about the Hurricane, like, fighter plane from World War II? Or is it about an actual hurricane? What do you mean by jokes you can tell to yourself? As in, things that make you chuckle if you think of them? I don't know. Put me on the spot there. But anyway, it's been about an hour now, so I'll finish the stream off in a couple of minutes. If anybody's got any more questions, feel free to share them. Also, I've done a video. Oh yeah, the fighter plane. Yeah, the Hawker Hurricane, yeah. I've not seen the film on it, though. Yeah, I was going to say, I did a video like Mike's one where I did kind of a feedback video, so there's going to be a video in about a month's time where if you want to give feedback and like have general questions answered, you can do it in the comments of that video and it's going to be a good video for it. But I've also said in that video, if you want to suggest things for me that I could potentially do in videos, that's going to be a really good place to ask it. But, you know, PMG for £28, that's a bit expensive. I don't think the PMG is that good in my opinion. I was wearing it just because I like wearing a mask or whatever during a stream, and when I've got a helmet on like this, you can actually talk more clearly than if you're wearing a mask. And it let me demonstrate smacking myself in the head with a bokken. So there's always that. I'm going to stream Thursday. That's probably anti-dim paste or something like that on the rag. So it's probably where it's embedded with, like, you know, the stuff that stops fogging, so you wipe that on the inside of the lenses, I would imagine. €76 for an FM12 seems quite a lot, because they're very commonly now being sold in the UK for £30 to £40. So, you know, I think you'd probably be able to get one with all the accessories cheaper than that soon. What time? In the evening, some point Thursday. I can't say for certain. Generally, it's around sort of 6 to 8 PM UK time, often. But, you know, it could depend on what I'm doing on the day, to be honest. A Scott GSR, as much as I don't like it, for £16, sure, why not? If anything, it's a learning experience for £16, or you could just use it for some sort of DIY project, you know. £16, yeah, get one. But yeah, like I was saying, if anybody can think of any video ideas they'd like me to do, feel free to suggest them. You know, if possible, I'll credit you and try and do the, you know, thing. Yeah, even if it's second-hand, 16 is good for a Scott GSR. I could do an updated knife video. Like, some of my favourite knives. I've already done one like that. I'll have to think of something, you know, that makes it a bit more interesting. But I could do more knife videos, yeah. I'll have to think of, like, a good category for it. I think I've already done a PMG test. Is it the ones in the round metal tin? If you're on about those, that's the anti-fog inserts, but they've often dried out and are useless by this point. I imagine GIGN actually has like the ballistic versions of these. This isn't ballistic, it's just like polycarbonate, plastic and foam riot helmet. Yeah, that'd be good. So swords, yeah, later on, so I can give more of an impression on them. Yeah, I could do something like that. I wouldn't mind doing one like my favourite sword, my favourite machete, my favourite knife kind of thing. That might be interesting for some people. It depends. I mean, obviously, if you had the choice between a new gas mask and a second-hand one, I'd always go for a new one. But you can disinfect a second-hand mask very easily. And, you know, with some masks, you have no option but getting them second-hand, if they're, like, you know, current military service masks. It depends on the country, obviously. If you're in a country where the FM12 is actually used by your military or police, they end up being cheaper generally because there's more of a stock of them. but the FM12 is used by quite a lot of European countries now. Alright, thanks Mike. I've not got a World War II German gas mask container. I've got a very similar metal container for the GM54 or whatever it is, the one West Germany used, that's like a GM30 after the war. And I think one of my French gas masks, or one of my Belgian ones, is in a metal container very similar, but I don't have a German World War II metal tin, no. Well, I've done a favourite knife type video before where I showed my favourite knives of each category, like military one where I had the Fairbairn Sykes and like the folding knives and all that. So I don't want to do things like that. I might do really good budget knives I like and things like that. I'll think up some ideas. You know, about 90 masks. I don't actually know what the best filter is on Amazon because I'd have to look, and it's going to depend on what country you're in. I've actually been to Auschwitz, yeah, because I went to Poland in, I think it was 2015, and yeah, I went there when I was there, but the problem is we were there on a guided tour. They rushed you around it in like an hour and a half or something, and the tour was very politically kind of, you know, done. Ideally, I'd like to walk around it myself and, you know, experience everything for myself without somebody saying, you know, like, this is what you must think in this bit, sort of thing. Anyway, I'll finish the stream there because it's been well over an hour now. It's been an hour and 6 minutes. So yeah, I'll jot down to do a knife video. I'll try and brainstorm some ideas for it to make some interesting content if people want to see some like knives and blades sort of videos. Can certainly do that. And I'll have a think. Alright, okay Mike, I'll keep my eye out when I'm around if you do a video. I think, get the notifications for yours. Not 100% of the time, but a lot of the time I do, so you know. But if not, send me a message on Twitter and I'm quite likely to notice that. Yep, so I'll be streaming Thursday again, some point in the evening UK time. I can't guarantee a time, I'm afraid, because it depends a bit on what's going on at my end. But yeah, we will do a stream again then. Thank you for this one. Thank you very much for the £2 donation, Charlie. And I will try and remember to check your video out in a minute. So, see you. Thank you, everybody. Goodbye.